Hi everybody. There's a way to make this video that isn't going to be offensive, and this probably isn't the way. So what I want to talk to you guys about is we've talked about giants, and we've talked about petrification and giants turning to stone and seeing them in the rocks and the mountains and all over the place. And we've spent many videos looking at that, but I want to look at a little different ones now. Let's look at the little people and the overwhelming evidence of different species of humanoids that possessed this earth, that lived here and probably still are here on some lost island that we don't know about. And these little guys right here, we're going to actually see some real photographs of this from all over the world. There's different nationalities of these little people. Of course, they're not as small as what you're seeing here, but let's explore them. Now, this is a full-grown adult. She's barely 3 feet tall, and a lot of these photographs that I'm going to be taking are going to be from freak shows, circuses around the 1900s, because what I perceive is what happened with a lot of different cultures around the world as we invaded, or not necessarily we, but that they were invaded and probably wiped out, where just like the Romans always do, they keep a few treasures or trophies. And I think that's what we're going to see here. So this little girl, if you can there's many different names, but they call them pinheads. And it's because they have a elongated head, but they're very, very small in stature. Here, let me show you some more. So here are 2 other boys. I know I went and read saying that this was some type of disorder on one of them. I don't believe what we're looking at is a disorder. I think it is a species or a different culture of people that developed. And again, both of these 2 are around 4 feet tall and under. So these 2 are filmed all over the world. Like, it's just, here it's in, I think it's Moscow that they were, but they were in America and everything. They seem to have done a tour of the world, and these are what I'm talking about, the pinheads. They come in all different. They come in white, they come in black, and I've seen them in oriental as well. And here is a good side view, so you really get to see that it's a similar, where their head is larger. That's why they call them pinhead. And of course, they really like to wear their hair like that as well, so that's quite common in them. Some of them will cut their hair or shave, so they just have a little bob here. Like this guy, he's got that, what I'm talking about. That seems to be a typical of this tribe of people. That's the only thing I can say. He is really tiny. You can't tell by the picture, but I'll show you some more pictures of him. So as you can see, there is more of, this is in Berlin. So they're going through, these are ones that I have never seen before. So these are completely different people, but the same species. And in this card, it talks about them being the Aztec children. So here we go, and they're more in their tribal. This is what I'm talking about. They are people that were around the world at one time. As you can see, their stature is small. In this group happens to be black, but they were a particular people. Okay, so this one's saying they're called 2 small heads. So let's take a look at these guys. Exactly the same. Isn't that interesting, guys? I would say those are both men, but I could be wrong. So it's saying that he was with the Ringing Brothers, and they were billed as the last of the Antics. Here's a couple more pictures. They're so similar. You know, I would say that these people would be like, nah, I'm not going to say that. But I would say that these truly are a people. So these two traveled the world as the Aztec couple, and there's a number of pictures of these two traveling all over. So they're saying this is 1867 when this picture was taken of these two. And again, they are the same people we're talking about. So here is the Aztec now. They're in London, they're saying. What date is that? Oh, it's kind of hard because they do this, right? 1887. So here's one. This is one of the ones from the sideshows. So again, showing the stature of him. And here is a young woman of the same class and stature. And another picture of the two of them together. You wonder how hard it might have been for these people being under captivity, being displayed all over the place as being an oddity, a freak, a sideshow. It's quite sad that this is what they did, but that was a typical thing that they, you know, that the Romans always did to people. You know, and either they get rid of them or they let them blend in society and they just say, oh, it's an oddity, it's a malformation, it's a deformation. It's something that went wrong when it was a tribe, a type of people. And there's a couple picture, or another picture of two more. Doesn't look like we've seen these two, but of course they're the same. But if you look at the body structure, they're completely the same as us, except for their heads are a little bit pointy and thin. Their skulls are thin. But beyond that, they're fully functional like we are. You know, you get into little people like midgets and stuff. And like I said, I'm going to offend people in this post. And you can see there is deformities that happen. There's a great deal of health issues that happen. And a lot of people who are born like that don't live to be 70 or 80 years old. They don't get that because their bodies are not made properly. And so they end up having a lot of health issues. A lot of people, little people do have health issues. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here. If a body is made the way it's supposed to be made, it will live and it will be healthy. And I believe these were just made smaller. But who I want to talk about right now is Tom Thumb. Yeah, this is Tom Thumb, General Tom Thumb, if you want to actually know the truth. And let's go and take a look at a lot of pictures of Tom Thumb and all over the world. Charlie Stanton, better known as his stage name as Tom Thumb. He was a dwarf that went around the world. He performed all over the place. But again, I am assuming that Tom Thumb was actually not just a midget, but was a tribe of people because of the people that were around. Yes, this is him and his baby and his wife. So there seemed to be a whole lot more little people in the 1800s than what we're seeing today, like a whole village of little people that lived their life just like we do and actually had smaller houses, cars, or wagons, or whatever you want to call it, that they traveled along in that were made for them back in the 1800s. We don't seem to see a lot of people of little stature. Today, everybody seems to be around the same height, but at one time, it seems like the world was filled with different stages of people. Because if you look at the Aztec pinheads, they came about right here. And these guys are like this, Tom Thumb. But let's see some more pictures of multiple different people. Here you go, Tom Thumb and his wife and their son. Oh boy, that son is a spitting image of his father, as you can see. So this picture says the Sword Brothers, professional photographers of New York, but it shows who these people are. And these are not, this isn't Tom Thumb, this is a whole other group of different people. You know, I've got to take that back. This guy obviously isn't, he's a friend of him. I thought it was his son, but look at this. 2 weddings, beautiful. Come on, Karen, you're just showing us the pictures of a bunch of midgets. But where do midgets come from? Where it is, unless it's that one that's a genetic problem. Where do these people all come from, and why were there so many back then? Is it because we are aborting all of the kids that have this type of defect, or were they actually a culture, a people that lived here and like right beside us, just like the Rh negative maybe lived segregated from other people? So did these people. And if you look into a lot of the stories and written stories of that time, they were cultures. They weren't deformities. Now these two are even smaller. I would say maybe 18 inches. Very crazy. You know, think about the Lilliputans. Doesn't that remind you of them? 21 inches, 18 years, 15 pounds. 21 inches. You know, I had a couple of babies that were 21 inches. Just put that in your head and think about it. Just in case you think we're looking at kids, we are not. We are looking at adults. They just look a little different than we do. They look younger. Look at this girl, 1876. She was 24 inches tall, so she's taller than the last one that we were looking at, 8.5 pounds. So look at this, it's Yoda, you know, this is supposed to be 1908. It was found in a garage sale. What I want to say to you, and this is, it could be true, it could be absolutely true what we're looking at. But when we're looking at pictures, we have to remember over the past 20 years, there's been so many people that have a digital art degree and that have been working in trying to manipulate pictures. It's rather funny. I always wondered, why are they just pushing so many people to go into to be able to do this kind of stuff? My granddaughter is in her 2nd year of digital art, and she is an amazing artist, so it was something for her to go into. But many of the people that are in there aren't good artists, but you don't have to be when you're working with these programs, and you can make a whole lot of false information. So I do want to caution anybody with any of the pictures that I'm showing you. Unless I've taken them myself, I cannot verify the authenticity of any of the pictures. I can only go by, and hopefully that what we're looking at is authentic. I cannot vouch for this picture, guys, but it is interesting that it's a very small person and it looks just like Yoda. If it is true, then it would be, again, another species of people that we don't see today, if this is real. Like I said, I'm probably going to offend people today. So this says it was in 1894. I think that's what it says. Princess Pauline. There you go. Whether she was a princess or a captive, and they like to give them names like princess and put them in royal clothes and everything when they capture people. Well, again, this is a little person, 1870, they're saying. You know, that's really sad. What you're seeing here is obviously this person has, this confirms what I'm talking about a culture being taken over and captured, because you can tell them how emaciated he is, that he has been starved, taken out for this picture, and chances are that was probably the last day he ever saw on Earth. So this is, again, a freak show, or the circus, and as you can see, there are many different people that are in here, many different sizes. You can say that they're all freaks of nature, but are they? Are we looking at civilizations that grew in one area and their stature changed, their look changed, or maybe not even that? Maybe they were made that way, exactly the way that what you're seeing right here. Here's a wolf man on this side. There's some albinos. These guys are albino black people supposed to be. And then we got the different varieties of little people. And I just think a bunch of other people that were misfits in our, because that's really what they started doing. They started collecting misfits, but along with the misfits, I believe that we have conquered tribes of people that got put in captivity. Have you ever wondered where they got all of this little people for the Wizard of Oz? It really is interesting. Did they put out a casting call and just said, we want hundreds and hundreds of little people? Because that movie was made quite some time ago. And that movie was made at the time when you did see a lot of these kind of people all over the place. But we don't see them now, and that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Now, this really is where you're going to expect to see, somebody that has the mutation, where you're going to get children that are born from regular stature people, or our stature, 5-6 feet, and they will have this. But you know it because their proportions are out. They don't quite match their body. But take a look at that. Okay, take a look at these people. Their bodies are proportioned. They are the way that their body is supposed to be. They're exactly, you could see this girl could be 5'4". All of these people could be normal height. He could be 5'10". As easy as any of them. They're completely have a balance of their features. And this is what I'm talking about compared to the other one. Do you see what I'm talking about? That's where they get hip problems and shoulder problems and health problems because they're trying to fit in their body. It's a uneven puzzle, and that's why they have so many health problems. But the only thing odd about these people is they look like little children, and you would mistake them for being young children, but they actually aren't. They're adults. In here it says young girl and one boy dressed as brides, but I don't believe that's what it is because look at these pictures over here. Okay, so here she is. She looks like a baby. She could pass for 4 or 5 years old. That's what I'm finding about these ones. They never really grow in their features. They look like fully formed children. And she is 21 inches, and we went through her before. Perfectly formed, but what you would think is a child. I remember watching this one video years back, about 5 years ago, and it was about this Russian orphan that came in, and she was about, I can't remember, I think it was about 8 years old. Okay, so here is the story about Natalia. This is a couple claims 6-year-old girl they adopted from Ukraine is actually an adult woman determined to kill them. So this is Natalia, the 6-year-old girl that they adopted, and they believed afterwards that they found out that she was 22. So if you looked at all of those pictures of the other ones, these people were actually charged later with child neglect or abandonment because they set her up when she was 8 years old in her own apartment, and she did fine. And actually she went to college and that, and as the article goes on to say, she had adult teeth. She also had pubic hair and she had her period. But you know what? That isn't necessarily all that very strange today. That happens a lot. Children are maturing quite a bit more. And actually, Dr. Phil did. So this article was written in 2019, and she says, I'm 16. I am not 33-year-old scam artist. So this is what she looks like today. And honestly, I would say that she still looks like a 16-year-old. She looks like a young woman, a 16-year-old. So, but she also could be 33. You never know. Because when you go back and take a look at the dwarfism, how these people can look young. There was, in this story, they did DNA and they said that she was older, and then that was refuted later and saying that no, she really was a little girl. It has been quite a actually story. When I started to go, there's quite a few people have covered this orphan that was supposed to be an adult. Well, I would think that this is just a bunch of them getting together, and again, they look like children just dressed up. I went by these pictures so many times thinking that, oh, it's just, they just put kids in these pictures. But take a look at some of the faces. You know, take a really better look at the faces, and you can see the age in the faces. You can see that this is not children. These are adults, but they do appear, and if they were by themselves and they didn't have those clothes on and you put them into, especially her, look at this beautiful baby looking face. So if you put her in that, somebody would adopt these people, but they're not children. They're fully formed adults. Again, I think they are a tribe of people. You know, the Lilliputans people. If you've not ever looked into the Gulliver's Travels, please do read the books. There's a number of movies that were made about Gulliver's Travels, about going from one island to the other and finding people of different stature, slightly different. The Lilliputs looked like little children, and they had that squeaky children voice. Our tribes and cultures that existed at one time. And may still exist again, because, you know, we only know what we're allowed to know. We're only allowed to go on the planes to where they say, even if you are a pilot yourself. That's why Gulliver's Travels are so neat. He got off course, right? He got off course and he ended up on another island with 6-inch people. And then when he escaped from them, because he had to escape from them, he went and he was the 6-inch. It's so And so the story went. I think he had a number of different voyages from one area to another. He just kept on going to a different landmass and finding a different culture. Now look at these people. It's blurry, but these are not children, what you're looking there. Again, they're on display, you know. So if you go from one landmass to the other, UAP did a really good, he's actually done a number of videos on it. Here's a bit of UAP's video that he did where the North Pole is accidentally revealed on Google Maps. They've left a strip they've accidentally, that goes on for hundreds of miles. He's done a really good job. He's actually made a number of videos on this showing that there is other land masses. We are only showed where we can go, not really what's. We only are told what they want us to know. There's some more. But they dress them up in funny costumes and they try to make them look ridiculous. that's what they do. And all of these crazy costumes that they put them in is probably not, a lot of them isn't their natural clothing. And these people never look happy. There's that little one that was on the table there. They're like captives. Doesn't she look like she would be a fairy or you can almost see wings. And this goes along with the Gulliver Travels theme. These are, and you hear the cover story. In 1918, the Earl of such and such decided to make a village with running water and working fireplaces and sewage systems, and the list goes on and on and on. And that was actually used. There's these villages all over the place. See the people over here? They are by other villages that are large and fully intact, and they all look about the same age. So they may have actually just been a village of some of these people that we're looking at in the pictures. Live side by side and you can see these are well used, very old, very, very old stonework. Yeah, you would think you're in England here, but you're not. You're at one of these villages. And like I said, there's many of them. They're in every land and they're all over. Now, see, you can see the stature is a lot bigger in these houses because she's, probably about 5 feet. Those other ones, the people were standing up here. This one village, these people are a lot larger than the last village. Can you imagine the little people running around? They would have had to have been pretty tiny here to be able to get into the doors. But there's stained glass inside the churches. The bells ring. It's beyond a marvel. It's beyond. I wish they would do more pictures of the inside of them. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a whole lot. You got to know that there are a lot of these kind of things that have been made recently that are very modern, and you can tell they're modern. They have modern materials. They're made the way we usually do everything, not to last. But the ones that were made that what I'm talking about are the ones that have these fictitious write-up about them, and they kind of pick, eras that nobody would be alive, so that nobody can say, no, but that was there when I was a little girl. They're lying because everybody's dead by that time. So they'll go like a lot of times you'll see 1918, 1910, 1880, even up to 1940. It's easy. It's easy to hide the real truth of what you're looking at. Just so you can see the difference between something that this guy made to the one that I just showed you and the ones that I was showing you. This is so obvious, handcrafted by him. He made into, and it's, take away all of the crazy little people and stuff that he's put in, but even the construction itself, it's not one that's going to fool you. Okay, so Brockenscott in Beaconsfield, Buckinghamshire is the oldest original model village in the world. It portrays aspects of England's mostly dating back to the 1930s. Brockenscott was first created in the 1920s. Beaconsfield resident Ronald Collingham, an accountant, developed the master plan for his miniature empire as an addition to his large backyard, drawing in help from his staff, the gardener, cook, maid, and chauffeur. Together they developed the model landscape portraying the rural England at the time. The swimming pool became the first sea, and the undulating Rockies were built up as hills. Large-scale model railroad manufacturers were commissioned to build an exclusive garage, a one railroad network for the project. Collingham named the village Brockenscott after Beaconsfield and Ascot, where they had lived Beck and Scott was not converted as a commercial visitor's attraction, but as a plaything to entertain Collingham and his guests. He was an accountant, guys, and he put this in his backyard. Let's see what his backyard looked like. And this is what he did in his spare time with his cook, chauffeur, and gardener. The four of them built that in his backyard, and he was an accountant. Okay, let's hear some more about what he said. So it was not a commercial visitor's attraction, but as a plaything to entertain Collingham and his guests. It was only after 1930 that its existence became widely known. So do you think the guy just rode around on his train, catching the imagination of the press and public like frequent newsreels? So let's see, it went down from there, and then it said that so far it's raised about £5 million, and over 14 million people have visited the railroad, and they asked for donations. All of the buildings were functional. You know what that means. So this is another view, seeing that they made this in 1920. I mean, this is really an elaborate one, and a lot of it, you can see there's a lot of upkeep that they've done, and of course adding the fakery in here. Wow. You know, I'm just blown away. Now, I would imagine that they are adding to it. They're adding some of it. But I will say again, I do believe a lot of this is probably real. Here's France Miniatures. Sorry. It was opened in 1991. Take a look at that. It's a star fort. And it goes on and on, this place. If you can tell. Into different places. Let's see if we can get some better pictures on this one. I'm suspecting this one isn't what they're saying either. This isn't something that we've made recently. So these are the pictures from this miniature village in France. Wild, guys. Now, I know we can do this stuff. I know we can. And this one is a recent one from 91. But I'm still suspecting there might be some monkey play here. It's just a way to look at the world a little different. Not everything that we see is what they tell us. A lot of times when they say that they're building a lot of these sets for movies and stuff, and we see them burning down or exploding buildings, sometimes it's old Tartaria, if you want to use that. They're just destroying the old trains, they're destroying the old buildings. And as we have seen, it's not one of them, there were people of all different statues that lived on the earth. And let me show you a couple more to show you that the sizes that could have fit in these buildings, that we actually have that too. Now again, I can't verify any of this, But here you go. These are all different Merlin's museum, about 6-inch. That would have fit very well with the buildings that we were looking at. Now, whether all of this is real, but his museum goes back to the 1800s as well. So a lot of the stuff that are here were collected a very long time ago. And since they look pretty good, I would imagine they're hard to be that fraudulent. But you never know. You never know. The world is a little bit different than what we thought. A whole lot different. A little bit would be great. But what we're finding is completely not the world that we thought. You're living in the Twilight Zone. Or at least Lord of the Rings. And we've been kept in one little place and not shown what really, really is out there. I hope you guys all have a great week. I hope you guys all have a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this. It is fun for me. I love looking at this kind of stuff. You may find it to be creepy, and maybe I shouldn't, and maybe those people were just deformities, but I don't think so. Talk to you later. Live and love and light.